This is Consumer Friend.
Hello and welcome to the Consumer Friend podcast. We believe that everyone should have an understanding of their rights when buying goods and services so that they can get the best deal. And our website, pods and social media aims to give you this information in an easy to read, listen and watch format. Today we are going to talk about fraud and scams. This is our third series now in Consumer Friend podcast. We always like to put one fraud and scams episode in there, and today is that episode. So first of all, I'm just going to introduce Louise Baxter, MBE. Hi, little Lou Bax, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Adam. It is my birthday, so I'm very happy.
Okay, it's not actually officially your birthday, I'd just like to point out, because we're recording this on the 28th of February. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just had to check the little icon in the bottom of the screen. So we're recording on the 28th of February, but your birthday is actually the
29th of February. So
that is a leap year. You only get one birthday every 4 years.
I only get one birthday every 4 years. So, but on the years that there's no leap years, today's my birthday. So on the years there's a leap year, I get two.
So it's not your birthday today?
I get two birthdays, so today is my birthday.
So hang on a minute, you've gone from having
I don't know why
one
this is hard
birthday...
for people to understand.
So you get one birthday every 4 years, but now you've changed that to 5 birthdays every 4 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's a very
the second way is much more advantageous to me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Happy birthday, Louise.
Thanks, Adam. I'm not sure you're really getting into it quite as much as I want you to be honest, but there we go.
And how have you been this week?
Yeah, I've been all right, busy. It's been a lot busy, very busy at work, very busy everywhere.
And what are you doing for your birthday? Come on then, tell me about all your birthday shenanigans.
I went away with my sister at the weekend and we went to a fancy smancy hotel. It was lovely. We laughed a lot, like you only do with your sister, which was good. Then I'm having cake tomorrow. And I'm going to have a whole day on my own tomorrow with no kids because they're at school. Brilliant. And then I am going away at the weekend. And at some point, me and you will have a party in the summer.
Yes, we will. Yeah, we definitely will.
Yes, we will.
That's definitely going to happen.
Taskmaster party. Yes.
Because it's actually also my birthday in 2 weeks.
Adam is 12 days younger than me and likes to remind me of this.
So yeah, my birthday in a couple of weeks. Perfect. Okay, so today, Louise, we are going to talk about fraud and scams. Now, what gives you the right to talk about fraud and scams? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're such an expert to talk about fraud and scams? Tell me about your history, Louise.
All I got was, who do you think you are? And then I went, who do you think you are? Which is the thing that happens every time somebody says to me, I make up a song. So in my day job, I'm head of the National Trading Standards Scams team. I've worked in scams and fraud I've been in the scams team for 12 years. I've worked in trading standards for 22. So I've come across a lot of fraud and scams. So I'm considered a little bit of a national expert, but also as a bit of a victim champion. That's what gives me the right. Will that do, Ads?
Okay, so what's the National Trading Standards Scams team?
The National Trading Standards Scams team is a organisation that is funded by government that was set up to deal with consumer scams. So consumer-related scams. So basically things, predominantly mail scams, telephone fraud and prevention work around doorstep crime, but also with a big emphasis on a consumer product being at the end of every scam. So a service or good at the end of the scam that somebody doesn't receive or is not quite what it was described as.
So you are pretty much an expert in fraud and scams.
Well, yeah, but it's moving at quite a rapid pace at the moment, so it's quite hard to continue to maintain that expertise.
Also, I work with Louise for the National Trading Standards Scams team. So Louise is my boss at the National Trading Standards Scams team, as well as my work partner when it comes to Consumer Friends. So I have worked at the National Trading Standards Scams team for about 6 years. I came in to launch the Scam Marshal project, and since then I've been working on the Friends Against Scams initiative. I do some work on investigations around mail fraud and telephone fraud, and I also run a few separate projects for the Scams team around call blocking, video doorbells, those kind of things. So I think it's probably fair to say that me and you were pretty damn hot on fraud and scams.
I was saying a bit scammy, to be fair. We're pretty scammy, aren't we?
We are a
but
bit.
we're
So
not.
when people say, Adam, what do you do? I go, oh, I do scams. They go, well, surely you can't
I know,
admit
but
that.
I don't do scams. Yeah, then you go, I don't do scams.
I try and stop it, I try and stop it.
I try and stop the scams.
Try and stop it.
Say so. We're very victim focused. So everything that we do in the team is around trying to focus to support victims, because fraud and scams statistically is 40% of all reported crime. We believe that only between 15 and 30 odd percent is actually reported. So we don't know the true scale of the problem. So then we're in a situation where we end up talking very regularly about statistics, forgetting that there is a person at the end of every one of these scams. And there is a victim
Absolutely.
at the end of every single one of these scams. So we try to bring it back and be consumer focused, victim focused, and ensure that people are getting what they need and are treated with empathy, respectfully, and get the support they need to recover from that crime.
100%, and I completely agree with you that the victim is at the heart of everything we do in the scams team. But having said that, of course, I do have some statistics.
Obviously you do. I'm excited.
I am currently in a hotel room in Manchester. I've been presenting today on the work of the National Trading Standards Scams team. And my presentation will always start with those statistics around scams and fraud. So did you know that 43% of all reported crime last year was fraud? That's more than any other crime type. You are twice as likely to become a victim of fraud than you are to any other crime type. So that includes burglary, domestic violence, murder, obviously. I mean, it's quite rare to get murdered these days. Ofcom reckon that about 45 million scam phone calls were made last year. 45 million scam phone calls made to UK consumers last year.
That's a huge amount.
It is a numbers game. About 0.59% of those are successful. So they just keep on phoning. 1 in every 200 will be successful. They can be a lot more targeted. They can be a lot more successful, but they just keep on phoning. It is purely a numbers game.
So what happens if you do? So 0.59 of 45 million is what? A lot.
Yeah, I'm not going to work it out. Do you know what? 0.59 is a really, really conservative figure. The research that I've looked at, it always takes the most conservative figure and uses that as its benchmark. So the actual result is probably a lot higher. And obviously these criminals are refining constantly. So they're improving that strike rate week on week, year on year. So that 0.59% is probably way higher.
So when Adam says strike rate, he means when a criminal contacts a consumer and then successfully scams them, that would be considered a strike in criminal language. Then what happens is those criminals will add a marker against that person's name to say that they are susceptible and likely to respond favourably. They then become a valuable commodity, and the data and that consumer's data is then sold on to other organised crime groups, which the criminals use the unfortunate name of a suckers list. It's a victim list, which is then trafficked from organised crime group to organised crime group. So that's why if you respond to one scam, you then get repeatedly targeted by other criminals. It's not a coincidence.
No. Once you've responded or been a victim of a scam, there's a very, very good chance that you will be targeted with other scams. So another stat for you is between 0.5 and 2% of police funding goes towards combating fraud. 43% of all reported crime is fraud. Between 0.5 and 2% of police funding goes towards combating it. We are not going to arrest our way out of it. Fraud cases are complex. The criminals are usually overseas, targeting UK consumers. It is very hard to bring about any kind of prosecution on foreign bad actors.
Did you say foreign bad actors?
I did say foreign bad actors. like Adam
That
Sandler.
could mean so many things, couldn't it? Yeah. I watched a TikTok the other day. I watched a video the other day of this woman going, this is what I imagined I'd be like on the school run, like all refined and all like hair up and makeup and everything like that. She goes, turns out I'm just a female Adam Sandler. And I was like, it's brilliant. She had all the baggiest clothes on. I was like, that's me on the school run, that is.
Yeah, I don't mean to say I don't think Adam Sandler's a bad actor. I love Adam Sandler. I think he's fantastic.
No, I don't.
But he
Neither do I.
tends to win the Razzies. Or it reminds me of the Team America. It's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
So yeah, foreign bad actors. Let's go with that. So we are not going to arrest our way out of it. So consumer education is a really, really important part of the work that we can do in all law enforcement agencies. So very recently, I've actually been, I went up to number 10 a couple of weeks ago for the launch of the new Stop Think Fraud campaign. I was very excited to get to go into number 10 Downing Street.
Yeah, I was going to say, what number 10 what? So much assumed knowledge. Yeah, he did. And he loved it because he sent photos and everything. And there's photos of him standing outside the big black front door. And he's loving it. And his face is all lit up. And oh, Adam.
I really enjoyed it. I have to say, the invite came through on the Friday to go on the Monday. I was like, right, Louise, cancel everything for me on the Monday. I'm going to Downing Street. And Louise didn't have any choice. I was going. I did the Hugh Grant dance down the stairs.
Perfect. I'm glad you had a lovely time.
Sorry, Hugh Grant.
It's a grand building though. Like you only need. It's a nice building to go into, and you have to go. It's nice to be able to say that you've been. Right, should we get back onto the task in hand, which is the government launched a campaign
called Stop Think Fraud. You may well have seen it. There's TV adverts. It's on billboards everywhere. They have spent huge amounts of money on getting this campaign out and targeting people with this Stop Think Fraud messaging. It's around taking a bit of time to think about what's being asked of you. So there's an advert where one guy's sitting in a cafe and these criminals are talking to this person saying, get your parcel delivered now. It's only £1.99, that kind of thing. These are tickets. They're only available now. Click here for the link. And Howie just makes them all go away. And it's fantastic. It's a really good advert. Really like it. We've been part of that as part of the scams team. We've been part of the consultation process over the last couple of months. So yeah, there's this great Stop Think Fraud campaign, which is now out there in the world. So there's TV advertising, billboards everywhere. It's all over social media. Stop Think Fraud, about just kind of telling people to take a second to think about what's being asked of them on a text message, on a email, what they're looking at when they're scrolling through their social media. Take a bit of time to think about that message and whether it's legitimate or could be legitimate.
So the Stop Think Fraud campaign is about trying to ensure that we provide consistent messaging about fraud and scams. But it's also really difficult to make a topic like fraud and scams relevant to people until you're affected by it. However, this week I've had about 4 or 5 people that I know, or people that I know through other people, who have been directed to me for me to give them advice on their current situation because they have been defrauded. I had one lady who got hacked. Someone's account got hacked on Facebook. She ended up buying what she thought were tickets from her friend on Facebook. Turned out it was a hacked account and she lost lots of money. She transferred some money to this person. Had another person who got scammed by clicking on the scam delivery email that you're getting, saying there's a parcel out for delivery. You just need to click on the link, put in your personal details. It was an email. Pay a certain amount of money. I've also had some other scams from other online platforms where people have been scammed. It's really common. It's really commonplace at the moment. We're seeing lots of it. And from people that historically we've used the wrong language. We say things like people fell for a scam, which puts all the focus on the victim, not on the criminal. It's victim blaming and shaming, which leads to secondary victimisation of that victim, which is why reporting is so low as well. So,
sorry, can you just going to stop you for a second, Lou? So that's a bit of research that we've done in the scam team around the language that we use with scam victims. It's been done with. Do you want to just talk about that, because I think you've just kind of gone into. You've moved from someone being scammed on Facebook to the language that's now being used. So there is a bit of research that's been done within the scams team, isn't there?
Well, I don't think we didn't do research on that. I don't think we need to talk about that right now.
Okay.
I don't think we need to talk about the research.
So just the language.
I was going to say it's because I'm going off on a tangent as usual, but the reason I'm talking about the language is because we victim blame and shame. But the people, back to my original point, the people that I've spoken to this week and tried to help with their situations are not people that you would ever consider to be vulnerable. They're not people you would look at and think, you're a scam victim. And this is what we're saying, is that people are situationally vulnerable. We talk about that a lot. And therefore, your situational vulnerability can make you more susceptible to fraud and scams. It's not a one size fits all. There's a scam out there for everyone. Like the story I'll tell you now. Are you ready for my story time, Adam? About one of the scam victims?
Absolutely. Let's go with it. Let's go with a story about one of your scam victims.
One of my scam victims, which is the reason, to be honest, it's the reason you get out of bed in the morning and we do the jobs that we do. Because if we can help one person, then that's what we do. And I also like to speak to real people. I have to say, I like to speak to anyone, to be honest. Doesn't even have to be a real person.
Louise, you will... Your phrase is, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet.
Absolutely. I love it. Make a train friend, make a bus friend, always. So last year, Linny clicked on a scam advert. For a candle that she wanted to buy. She put in her credit card details. And since then, because it was a scam advert, she has been added to what's called a suckers list. So she's been continually targeted by different criminals with different frauds and scams. She's aware she's on one of these lists. She's aware that the advert she clicked on was a scam after she did it, because she's constantly checking her bank accounts. She was on it with her credit card company and her cards got cancelled. So she cancelled her bank and her credit cards. So she monitors her accounts. She banks online. She's internet savvy because she's often finding the best deals and sharing all the best deals with everybody. She loves a bit of Martin Lewis. What Martin says is we quite often get. She's an active nanny. She's a member of the school PTA, and she's a really fierce lady, right? So, but she's also used to getting these sort of text messages from the bank to say there's unauthorised activity on your bank account. She's used to getting those because of what's happened with her details being shared. So an evening in January, about 7:30, she got a text from the bank saying there was suspicious activity coming from her bank account, and she needed to call a 0333 number to confirm it was a fraud. She was, as I said, she was used to this sort of text, and due to the suckers list and being targeted, so she was like, oh, okay, here we go again. And she'd had the conversation with her daughters constantly about the fact she needed to change her bank account. It was something that she was going to do so that she would stop getting these sort of text messages. She Googled the number, nothing comes up, so it looks like a legitimate number. It's a 0333 number. It looks legitimate. So she called the number. She spoke to Simon, who was patient, gave her support to stop the fraud. 10 minutes later, Linny spoke to one of her daughters, who told her to ring the number on her bank card just to check that it wasn't a scam, because she'd rung the number on the text message. Linny's response was that she knew what she was doing. She does this regularly, but her daughter made her ring the number on the back of her bank card, which is the advice that we would always give, is never to ring the number in a text message or in an email. Always ring the number on your bank card. Hang up your phone, make sure the phone is hung up, and ring the number on your bank card.
Or you can dial, just for a second, you can dial 159 and you can ask to be put through to your bank's fraud department.
Yeah. So when she did ring her bank, it turned out Simon was a criminal, and in the space of an hour, he'd hacked her account, spent hundreds of pounds and taken out a loan in her name. So Linny was a victim of fraud. Her immediate words to her daughter were, I feel like a vulnerable old lady. Linny is not a vulnerable old lady. So they had the task of trying to stop any further money being stolen from her account. During the crime, she didn't get to ring 999 because they wouldn't have responded. They would have diverted her to action fraud. So she had to speak to 3 different bank departments repeating her story. She was told to wait until the next day to report it as the bank closed at 8 p.m. So she wasn't even able to reassure herself that no more money was going because the direct debit department shut at 8 p.m. And this is another reason why we wonder people don't report this sort of crime. You can't even speak to your bank to stop it from happening. She had to relive her experience and tell her victim stories 3 times in the course of an evening to one organisation, the same organisation, not different organisations, the same organisation, just to stop any further crimes happening to her at that particular moment. She was initially treated with kindness and empathy from her bank, but the following day she wasn't. The next day, the bank told her that she was lying. When she phoned up in the morning, the bank accused her of lying and that she'd authorised all the payments and the loan. Now, this is a 74-year-old lady who doesn't take out loans. She doesn't need to take out a loan and is apparently taking out loans at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. She said she felt like her bank were accusing her of stealing money. She wasn't listened to. She was blamed and shamed. she kept considering it. She kept repeating that she felt that she was stupid and she had done something wrong because, again, of the secondary victimisation that she experienced from the person in authority, namely the bank, and law enforcement do it as well. They blamed and shamed her. They put all the heat on her rather than the heat on the criminals where it belonged. So, again, it was things like, why did you fall for that? We blame and shame the victim and treat her like she was stupid, like she'd done something wrong, but she hadn't. If somebody was burgled, you don't treat them like they've done something wrong. If somebody was mugged on the street, you don't treat them like they've done something wrong. As we said in the scams team, and I think Adam mentioned it slightly earlier, we did a piece of research about the similarities between the way we treat victims of domestic abuse to the way we treat victims of scams and fraud. We make it the victim's issue, not the criminal's issue. So we need to learn not to do that. The loan was cancelled because the criminal hadn't been able to bounce the money from Linny's account out. So the loan was cancelled and she was able to get a refund on the money from that particular account. And Linny is my mother. So we talk about this stuff all of the time.
So Linny is your mum. So you are the head of the National Trading Standards Scams team. Linny, your mum, is being targeted by scammers and knows that she's being targeted by scammers and yet has still been a victim of scam very recently. So these criminals are experts at what they do. They know exactly how to groom, socially engineer, coerce people into clicking links, doing exactly what Louise has just said. It's if only they could use their skills for good.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, so with it being my mum, there's a point in time with your mum or your dad where you move sort of more into a parenting role with your parents, don't you? And that executive function with your parents goes. So with my mum, she was really like, oh God, I'm stupid. I was like, you're not stupid. This is what I talk to you about every day. She comes in my house every morning, she takes my kids to school. So we have conversations about scams, what I'm doing, coercive control, all of this sort of stuff. And I went, whoa. I went, you're not stupid. You're not vulnerable. You're not any of those things. And don't label yourself as those either. Because that's disempowering yourself. You're blaming and shaming yourself now, as well as everyone else. I said the other thing is, I mean, not that it's funny, but I went to her, I don't want to be in charge yet. I'm not ready. She went, you're in charge.
I'm
not ready for that. She said 44 tomorrow. I'm like, no. Absolutely not. That's not happening. But there is that. Again, there's a fear, especially with older people, that if they do admit that they've been a victim of a scam, that their family members might take their autonomy away, might then start interfering with their finances or their bank accounts, or view them.
It's worrying.
Yeah, or view them as being a victim, or view them as being vulnerable when they're not vulnerable. You're a victim of a crime, and there's vulnerability in being a victim of a crime, and that is okay. That is okay to feel vulnerable in that moment, but it's not static. You're not vulnerable. That's why you were scammed. And that's where we've got to change it up and not say things like you fell for, or if it's too good to be true, it probably is, which then says you don't deserve good things to happen to you. Or why didn't you trust your instincts? Well, if I'd known my instincts had told me not to do it, I probably wouldn't have. Also, then people start questioning themselves. The
trust your instincts thing is really bad because you're engineered and groomed to have your instincts think that you need to push that button. That's the whole idea behind it. So trusting your instincts is actually not good advice at all.
No, it's not good advice at all. And again, this whole thing, so, I mean, these are new terms that come in, like gaslighting, which we use a lot in a coercive controlled domestic abuse situation where people make you feel like you're losing your mind or that your reality is distorted, which is what the criminals do. And especially if you think of coercive controlling relationships, when you talk about romance scams as well, you believe you're in a relationship with this person. Mm-hmm. And if we victim blame there, why would you think that person would find you attractive? What, didn't you question the fact you hadn't met them in person? Well, no, because if I had, I wouldn't have given them the money. So I don't need to trust my instincts. We push it. We put the heat in the wrong direction. And then how are we supposed to expect people to share their experiences? And this the peer-to-peer support and that sharing of experiences is what gets people talking and what makes it okay, which helps us build our community resilience and community defence to the fraudsters getting in. We're not going to keep up with the technology. We're not. We can't. I hate the word fraudsters as well. It's criminals. Fraudsters sounds jolly, but that's another. Like, anyway, but we can't. The technology and the criminals use it advances at such a rate. We can't keep on top of it. We can't. Because every time we do something, it's like whack-a-mole. However, what we can do is consistently support victims to ensure that they don't become re-victimised, and actually that they then do the education for us by sharing the messages on.
Absolutely. That putting the message out there from actual scam victims is such an important message. We constantly get requests for people who have been victims to appear in media interviews, and a lot of them are very reluctant to go out there and talk about their experience. So those precious few that do want to talk about it, we cling on to like there's no tomorrow.
Permission, isn't it? It's like, it's permission. If you talk about something, like, if people sometimes go, I like, my sort of people are the ones that go, I don't always like my kids, I love my kids, but I don't always like them. I'm like, you're my people. Like, do you know what I mean? Or the people that go, oh my God, I love my children so much. My whole life is just, I love every minute of it. They're not my people, because that's not permission for me to moan about my children if I need to. It's about honesty, isn't it? And I think, and vulnerability.
Let's move away from the actual scam and the actual criminals targeting people. What can be done by us, by people, to prevent fraud and scams from entering their homes?
Well, firstly, learn about scams.
Mm-hmm.
So if you learn about it, you can go obviously look at the Stop Think Fraud campaign, but also if you want to do a little bit more, you can go on the Friends Against Scams website, which is www.friendsagainstscams.org.uk. Do some training to learn about scams to protect yourself and others. Look out for your loved ones. Be vigilant. If you get communications that you're not expecting, or even ones that you are expecting, check who sent them, question everything that you've got. I still quite like the Take 5 messaging, which is another messaging, which is Take 5. So take 5 minutes, think about it, take 5 minutes, talk to someone else. Always ask. Legitimate companies won't care if they have to wait.
Yeah.
There won't be that sense of urgency or scarcity. Scarcity is a funny one, isn't it? Because it's a really common marketing technique. Make people feel like there's not very many, supply and demand, and then then people will start to buy things. But be wary of that, I suppose.
Absolutely.
You've probably got some more top tips, Ads.
Well, I've got, in terms of some of those proactive things that you can do to prevent criminals from contacting you in the first place is if you're being contacted, if you're being bombarded by scam and nuisance phone calls, you could put a call blocker in. So there's loads of call blockers available online. The one that I would recommend the most is the TrueCall one for landlines, but they do also have one for mobile phones. There's also some new products and new initiatives coming out over the course of the next couple of years that center around AI, voice recognition, and some artificial intelligence that can actually identify a scam phone call happening in real time and can hang up for you. That's some really exciting stuff that's going to happen over the next couple of years. There's also, if you're being bombarded by mail, the use of mail redirection service, doorstep. If you're being targeted on the doorstep by rogue traders, you could do things like put a Ring video doorbell in. That seems to act as a deterrent to would-be criminals. They won't target you if you've got a bit of recording equipment on the doorstep. And with regards to emails and online, be suspicious of every unsolicited contact. If you get an email from HMRC saying that you owe £500 odd, and that's completely out of the blue, and you're being told that you need to pay it within the next 48 hours, or you're going to go to jail, or you're going to be arrested, or the fine will increase, get in touch with HMRC using a trusted number. So go onto the HMRC website and find that phone number and give them a call and say, I've had this message. Is this legitimate? There's a very good chance it's not. So that's some of the proactive stuff that you can do. But also, what we also want you to do is report it. It's so important to report these contacts, even if they're successful or not. So if you get a suspicious email, you should forward it to report@phishing.gov.uk. So that's report@phishing, spelled PHISHING.gov.uk, and that forwards it to the National Cybersecurity Centre, which can scan the email for malware, and it can have that email removed from the system. It's really, really good. If you get a suspicious text message, you can forward it to 7726, and that reports it to your phone operator, and they can take steps to remove that text message from other people's phones or from targeting other people. Really, really important. If you've been a victim of a scam or a fraud, then please report it to Action Fraud, because this needs to feed the database. It needs to feed the decision makers on telling them what the problem is in the UK at the moment. If we don't report it, then decision makers don't know about it and they can't fund it correctly.
Isn't the 7726, doesn't it spell spam?
It spells spam on the old style number keypads, but they don't exist anymore, do they?
So, well, they do. You got it on my app. You got it on my phone now. I can see the letters.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't think anyone uses the alphanumeric keypad anymore, do they? It reminds me of the Nokia 6610.
Oh, I used to love my Nokias. Life was simple then. Life was
Brick
simpler then.
phones.
It's being vigilant, but it's also about sharing the experiences and like we say, consider the communications that you're getting. Take a moment, don't react. What we call is, and we've talked about this a little bit before, is hot states. When you get something like that, like a demand for money, or you think you've won something, or something like you get into a hot state. You get like, even when it happens to me, if I get something through and I'm like, and I panic, my face goes red. I get like instant like blood flow, so I get a hot face, which is like pushing people into hot states. So therefore, and that's what the criminals do, they push you into a hot state so you don't make the decisions you would make were you in a cold state. So wait, did you not have Louise' hot face? That's what I think about. So it's about take those 5 minutes, calm yourself down, deal with it. It will wait for 5 minutes, even though it feels like it won't. It will wait, and give yourself the opportunity to think about it, check it out, and speak to someone else. That's all you do, is you ring someone else up and go, what do you think about this? Get someone else's opinion.
I call it the red state, which you always have a go at me about, because I think instantly red, and I think anger, and I think because my wife's got red hair and she's angry. I think it's important to know that there is something out there called the contingent reimbursement model, which sounds dull, but what it essentially means is that if you've been a victim of a fraud and you've made what's called an authorised push payment, which means effectively you've transferred money to another bank account after being made to. Is made to the right use of language?
No, misled. I suppose it's, yeah, I think as well, basically, if you've authorised and put your money away, you can go to your bank and ask for them to refund you.
Yeah.
That's what the code says. It's a voluntary code at the moment. Not all of the banks are signed up to it. But however, some of the banks will still adopt the principles of it, even if they aren't signed up to it. So if you have authorised money and pushed it away from your account, I mean, whatever sort of scam has come in your direction, if you've spent any money, you should always contact your bank anyway. That should be the first thing. But there are ways you can get money back from your bank via the contingent reimbursement model. But we can cover that off on another podcast as well when the new rules come in October.
Oh, lovely. Okay, perfect. Well, I think let's wrap it up there then, Lubax. Any final thoughts around scams and fraud?
Just be kind about it. If you think, consider your first response as well. So if you know somebody or you speak to somebody and they happen to share with you that they have been a victim of a scam or a fraud, just be really aware that you might be the first person they've talked to, and your response will form a lot of negative or positive experiences from it. So no victim blaming or shaming, just be really kind.
Absolutely. It could be you one day, quite easily as well. The criminals are experts at what they do. Thank you very much, Louise. As ever, please like, subscribe the podcast on whatever platform you're on. It really helps us to get our message out there. We are also going to do a Ask the Team podcast in a few weeks' time, probably one of the end ones of our season. So if you've got any questions for us, please email us at info@consumerfriend.org.uk or contact us via the contact form on the webpage or through socials. Thank you very much, Louise.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Consumer Friend.